I'm Jobby, and we're taking a look at the TransArt BWM-06 Metal T-Rex, which to anyone with a brain is obviously a third-party version of Megatron from Beast Wars, specifically his trans metal form from the second season. And if you haven't watched Beast Wars, you don't have a brain, that's just the facts.
Yes, indeed, JobbytheHong.
What? Anyway, this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. A game that brings a true console-level experience to your phone, even if it's an old one like mine. Promise I need an upgrade. It features hundreds of artifacts to equip and over 600 champions blessed with unique skills. And every great game has some serious challenges at the end. In Raid Shadow Legends, that end game is the Doom Tower. And let me tell ya, it's really gonna kick your ass. The Doom Tower, a prison containing the nastiest villains locked away by the Arbiter for 1,000 years. But now that the evil Siroth is leaking back into the world, the Arbiter lacks the power to maintain the wards. The Doom Tower is failing. And that's where you come in. Gotta get in there and knock some heads before those baddies get out. And to climb to the top, you're gonna need an army of champions. If you got a strong team, the regular Doom Tower floors tend to be pretty easy. But them bosses, oh, they're hard. And a couple of bosses require specific mechanics to beat, like the Scarab King. Ugh. But don't let all this graphical beauty overwhelm you. One of my favorite things about the game is that it's easy to pick up, thanks to a tutorial that's thorough and fun. What's also fun is this amazing Halloween-themed trick-or-treat promotion that Raid is running right now. You can win a bunch of real-life and in-game prizes, including $1,000 Amazon gift cards and some of the best epic and legendary Halloween champions in Raid. And the best part? It's all free and it's super easy. All you need is your Raid player ID, download the game with my link in the description, then head on over to trickortreat.plarium.com, also in the description. And from there, just enter your details, then spin the wheel and get your prize. And that's it! But don't wait around. This special event ends November the 5th. And once it's over, it's over. So you better get a move on, baby boy. And if you haven't started playing Raid yet, click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on the screen. You'll get unique bonuses worth $30. We're talking a free epic champion Rector draft, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, and 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in the game. All these treasures will be waiting for you here. The box itself looks great. On the back of it, there's a Beast Wars reference. Seeing all these iconic Predacons lined up gives me hope that TransArt will eventually cover all of them, because this Metal T-Rex is perhaps one of my new favorite Transformers figures. But he doesn't look quite right without his tail weapon, so get that plugged in real easy. The tail weapon has some spring-loaded pegs that have these little handles that you could pull back and lock into place to make attaching the weapon that much easier. Once you got everything lined up and pegged in, it's pretty sturdy. And the painting of the sculpting on this figure is amazing. And I know not every Beast Wars fan enjoyed the trans metal upgrade. Some designs suffered more than others, but Megatron was fortunately one of the better ones, even though I still prefer his Season 1 design. But seeing this figure in front of me is doing so many things to me right now, possibly because I have a childhood bias. The original Trans Metal Megatron figure was one of my favorite childhood toys. This guy is essentially a scaled up version with a premium paint job, very well done detail, and some majorly improved solidity. And this figure has the added bonus of being extremely cartoon accurate, but it helps that the original toy was pretty cartoon accurate already. All TransArt had to do was adjust the proportions a little bit and adding an extremely cartoon accurate face sculpt. But unlike the equally cartoon accurate official Masterpiece Beast Wars Megatron, this guy's eyes look kind of dead. Wish they painted the clear red here, but I understand why they did this. It's because of a light up feature. Now that looks pretty damn good. Gives this head sculpt the spark of life. You can just hear the succulent tones of David Kaye. And as you guys saw, the method of turning on that light up feature is not normal. Don't worry, this isn't just something to put in your ass. This is a clear purple blast effect part that happens to have a magnet at the end of it. That's right, this light-up feature is one of those magnet LEDs, activated when it comes into contact with a magnetic source. Come on. Come on. There you go. You tap it a second time and he starts blinking profusely.
Excuse me, I think I have something in my optics.
And you tap it one more time to turn it off. But the cool thing is the light stays on as long as you don't turn it off. Unlike the official Masterpiece Beast Wars Megatron that has a fade out feature for seemingly no reason. If I wanted to save on battery power, I'd just turn the light off. I don't need your help, Takara! And speaking of batteries, my copy of the figure did include a battery. Maybe that's a perk of buying from the Show Z store. Links in the description. But because I had this figure in storage for a while and didn't review it sooner, the battery died on me. So I had to unscrew this whole assembly, which detaches the entire head. And that gives you a better look at the LED, which was just attached to a piece of blue tack. For something that costs this much, that's surprisingly cheap. But it does work to keep it in place, so I can't complain too much. The battery required for this figure is 1CR927. So go steal your dad's watch or something. And just to give you an idea of how bright this is. Oh! Unfortunately, the chest can't light up, so it just looks like that forever.
You can always paint it, you know.
Who the slag is that?
Nah, don't worry about it. Just someone not as cool as you. Accessing this guy's battery compartment isn't the only reason why this guy's face is removable. To switch out his face, all you gotta do is push on his nose a bit. They could be a bit tight there, but work at it, and there you go. In addition to his normal face, you get an angry face, equally as well sculpted. Also doubles as a reference to the original toy. And a smiling face, which looks a bit goofy. This is less of a and more like a As for his other accessories, let's go to these obvious T-Rex arms and pop the claws off the ball joints, which shouldn't be too hard. These guys come off pretty easily, maybe too easily.
That's a pin.
And you can replace them with these alternate claw parts, which replicates his shoulder cannon attack from the show. Really cool, just wish we got some tiny blast effect parts to really sell this feature. But at least we get this previously mentioned blast effect part, and that pegs into the very tip of the tail weapon. Unfortunately not magnetized despite this being a magnet, and the effect part has some grooves for the claws of the tail to close around. Keeps it firmly in place. That looks awesome, and I'm really glad the figure doesn't have any trouble holding it up. And for his final accessory, you get a plot-relevant player for the
golden disc.
But of course this is the shattered golden disc, broken by my love. The top of the player has a flip-out projector. They could even double as a spinner, which replicates the scene where Megatron views a message from G1 Megatron, who sounds very strange.
This is Megatron, leader of the Decepticons.
That didn't sound bad to me. Gary did great.
What? I wonder if he'd say it.
Not a chance.
The blast effect part and the fidget spinner don't have anywhere to go when they're not in use, which isn't that big of a deal. I don't really mind it when accessories that aren't weapons can't be stored anywhere on the figure. However, it's completely possible to store most of the accessories inside the tail. TransArt really didn't have to do this, but it's such a great feature that I can't complain. Guarantees that you'll never lose his alternate faces or those shoulder guns. You could say all these extra bits literally go in his ass.
Nope.
What an excellent use of the tail. What? And so I introduce one of my least favorite parts of the entire figure. You get two tails, one small one for the robot mode, and one larger one for the T-Rex mode, which we'll get into later. Wouldn't be that big of a deal if you could just replace the small tail with the larger tail. I personally wouldn't mind a slightly oversized rod. I'm used to it. But you don't even get the option. The big tail doesn't have the required pegs to plug into the arm. And you know what that means? Parts forming. Great idea for accessory storage, but in the end, it's just an accessory that you can't store on the figure. Might as well put in your...
Stop.
And on the topic of negatives... not really. Back kibble doesn't look too bad, and that's pretty much because it's show accurate. Although I swear it was slightly smaller in the show. At least the backpack isn't annoyingly out of place, and anything more complicated would compromise the beautiful transformation. That purple chrome on the back is also beautiful. Feels a bit dirty touching it with your bare hands. Easy to leave fingerprints, as you can imagine. Which is why you get the figure's final well, wait. Always forget to mention the card, sturdy material, stats on the back. Alright, his real final accessory. I am not shitting you. Woo! One of my favorite accessories included with an action figure allows you to handle this guy without fear of staining it. And these also allow you to make a clean getaway. Cosplay your favorite Disney character. Oh boy! Say fellas, did someone say? But enough about his accessories. I want to talk more about my favorite part of the figure. This guy is such a joy to handle. Plastic quality is top-notch. Nothing feels flimsy. The majority of the joints are nice and tight. This is a far cry from that Toy World Legends class figure from a while back. Surprised not too many of you watched that. Had some nice words from Mr. K himself during quarantine.
I hope you are all great. Jobby, you're doing a great jobby.
Maybe it's because everyone got COVID and died.
You can't say that!
And not to mention some die-cast metal parts. The shin pipe, the feet, and the wheels at the back of the leg are die-cast metal. Definitely adds a significant amount of weight. This guy is hefty. But why's he got wheels, you ask if you haven't seen Beast Wars? You're not my son. You can flip this whole attachment out and flip up the feet for a more toy-accurate look, or keep them down for a more show-accurate look. Either way, this activates his roller skates, which he surprisingly has no trouble standing up on. Rolls pretty good too, but forget about free-rolling him up. Front wheels have these shock absorbers, which might be helping in some way, but I don't know how. The wheels in general add an extra layer of playability, but you can't have playability without some posability. IMO. Ball joint at the head. Every ball joint can be a swivel. Looks up that far and looks down that far. Could have been better. Hinge joint swivel at the shoulder pad. Arm moves out. Rotation at the shoulder. You can move the back kibble out of the way for a full 360. And for some reason, the shoulder rotation is not on a ratchet joint. It's not super loose, but it stands out, especially when you move the arm out. Bicep swivel, which is not a ratchet joint and it doesn't need to be, but it's tighter than the shoulder rotation. What the hell? Bend. This part tends to unplug pretty easily, but it's not super annoying. I'll probably go in here with some super glue to thicken up the pegs. Don't do that unless you know what you're doing. I don't. I want to tighten this peg as well because this side panel does plug in, just not super solidly. Double bend at the elbow. Wrist swivel, which I recommend caution. Don't want to snap off this hinge joint. Ball joint at the thumb. Every ball joint can do one of these. Hinge joint at the thumb. Hinge joint at the index finger. And a hinge joint at the rest of his fingers. As for his other arm, ball joint, allows for some natural and curvy tail poses. And of course the claw can open. You get an ab crunch, which is not on a ratchet joint and is pathetically loose. So I recommend you ignore that piece of articulation altogether. Waist swivel, which is so solid that I almost thought he didn't have a waist joint. Nearly gave me a heart attack. But that's not the case. It just takes a bit of effort to get it moving. Hinge joint at this belt piece, which is technically a piece of kibble. And talking about kibble, this whole round can unplug, but it's a bit of a tight fit. Wish I didn't have to bring out a part separator for such a basic feature. But boy, does it look cool. Hip thingy's also on an independent swivel, but more for the transformation. Rotation at the leg. Can't move back that far. While these aren't super noisy, they're still ratchet joints. And so is this
Glorious spread!
Yeah, that better make sense in context.
no thigh swivel, but you do get a swivel here. Also a ratchet joint. Bend at the knee. And you already saw the extent of the foot articulation. Pivot could have been a lot better. And I wish the whole wheel attachment also had a pivot. But that doesn't stop this figure from being really poseable. Bonus points if you bring in a stand, not included. Although flying poses would have been enhanced with some effect parts, which were promised in the prototype images, but not a big deal. But what is a big deal is how big he is. Size comparison time. Here's Figma Modica Kaname, SH Monster Arts Godzilla, Transform Element OP Leader. My previous review, the Figma and Revoltech Deku from My Hero Academia, which is the inferior anime compared to Beast Wars. And of course, the Transformers masterpiece MP43 Megatron. And for all the Beast Wars fans in the audience, here's my other masterpiece Beast Wars figures. Hold on! Allow me one more size comparison. The Jiangqing Winged Dragon. Of course, a beautiful robot mode is not all this figure has to offer. Let's bring out the instructions. You don't get any instructions. But you do get a QR code that if you scan it, takes you to a video by Meng Motion, and that serves as a set of video instructions. Plus a full-ass review. How can I get that job? And now it's time for the
Beast mode.
very important first step. Let's just hope that by the end of this transformation sequence, these gloves aren't drenched in sweat. I prefer And here we have the Beast Mode. This chromed out mechanical T-Rex looks amazing. It does both the original toy and the cartoon justice. Not to mention the transformation itself wasn't that complicated, which kind of feels weird to say after all this third-party fuckery. Very similar to the original toy as far as I remember. Really appreciate how TransArt kept it simple while still resulting in an alternate mode that's incredibly proportionate. And sure, a big part of that is this parts-forming tail. You can see how awkward the robot mode tail would look, but the Beast Mode looks so good that I can't be that mad at it. Just a little mad. What do you guys think about this? Do your best to keep it civil. Music on YouTube and SoundCloud. Not much new to cover in terms of detail. All of this stuff was on the robot mode, except you know, the big ass head. Super shiny chrome. I'm convinced that this is the main reason for these things. I can imagine some people finding the ridiculously reflective surface to be a bit much, but I think it's just right. Show accurate as well. It's just that I'll forever be cursed to wear these gloves whenever I wanna pet them. Or maybe I wanna go in raw. Can't really see it on camera, but that did leave a fingerprint. But even so, it shouldn't be that big of a deal to touch it with your bare hand. But I'm no expert. Let me know if the gloves are absolutely necessary. But for now, if you do get any fingerprints cum stains on the head, the gloves can double as a cloth that you can wipe away gently. Anyway, despite the head having one expression, it still feels very expressive. You could imagine David Kaye. But just like the robot mode, the eyes look a bit dead. Which is where our old friend Bad Dragon comes back into play. The T-Rex head contains yet another magnet LED, which really looks but it wasn't always this bright. Shut this off real quick before I open up the head. Also has that blinking feature.
Oh, slag, not again.
Once again, I shut it off. And the battery compartment is located in this hidden compartment. And that LED just fell right out. It was also attached with sticky tack, but I took this one off because out of the box, the battery was actually installed upside down. No point in the LED feature if the light side is not pointing down into the clear red plastic. Just put that thing face down and forget the sticky tack. And it's the same kind of battery as the robot mode head. Other new details include the inside of his mouth. Ah shit. Bright red posable tongue. Was Beast Wars a fetish show? And thank Primus, this mode holds together really well. None of the tab connections in the transformation disconnect so easily. Except the chest. I'm sure I could fix this in some way, maybe thicken that peg as well. But for now, there's a really prominent seam and it doesn't quite want to stick together all the time. I guess it's not that big of a deal since you're gonna display him chest down anyway. But yeah, slightly annoying. Like me.
I'll say.
Oh. Other than that, the Beast Mode is just as fun to play with as the Robot Mode, even featuring some posability. Swivel at the head, can't look down that far, and look up, not at all. Little bit of side to side. We talked about the mouth already. Rotation at the arms, arm moves out, bicep swivel, bend at the elbow, and it could bend the other way, and ball joints at the claws as you saw earlier. Same legs as the Robot Mode. None of this stuff got changed during the transformation. However, the beautiful spread is not so beautiful anymore. But this whole thigh section can unplug, which of course... And of course, this top layer is still the same, allowing you to replicate his flight mode. As for the tail, being a whole new part, has just one ball joint more than its smaller counterpart. Also allows for some curvy and natural tail poses. They should have kept the hole for the effect part. Posability is pretty damn good for a beast mode. Posable dinosaur figures and dinosaur-esque creatures really bring me joy. I should take a look at more of them. And it's also really nice that this beast mode is quite big. Size comparison time again. Here's Monica, Godzilla, Prime, MP43, my other masterpiece Beast Wars figures, which I don't have the time to transform, and the Jiangqing Wing Dragon. Beautiful T-Rex mode, beautiful robot mode, just teeny tiny issues, plus parts forming, that keep it from being completely perfect. But man, is it close. Absolutely pick this guy up if you're a Beast Wars fan, and consider picking up TransArt's other Beast Wars figures as well. They seem to be doing good work, but I wouldn't know. I haven't reviewed them yet. But you know what would have been a really cool feature? Some kind of talking gimmick.
Megatron, terrorize! I swear to Primus, if you touch me one more time, I will swivel—
Oh my god, it's Marvel Cinematic Universe actor David Kaye.
You still owe me a Lego stream.
What wacky thing will he do today? Will he finally say... the thing?
JobbytheHong, you absolute homunculus! You and your audience can take that ridiculous request and promptly put it in
Your face.
Subscribe to JobbytheHong.
Ha